I think the most important thing is keeping it simple.
Maybe that's my problem. I got burned out because when my kids were little, I would make things like, homemade from scratch wonton soup.
Sweet Jesus, with like the dumplings and
I was
everything
a
from
stay-at-home mom.
scratch? You
I was a
freaking
stay-at-home mom feeding my kids, but also I'm using some creativity. I'm doing something a little extra, but maybe that's my problem. I went too hard, too fast, too early. Now I'm burnt out.
It's not something I'm going to come home and make that for the family after a long day. So
Oh,
also, I
no
guess
way.
scheduling that in.
Yeah, no way. Working and making a big meal. No. For me at this point, I'm an empty nester. I'm just tired of making the damn decision when it comes to cooking. You guys, I feel like what you both just talked about right now is a hot freaking tip. Listeners, am I wrong? Welcome to Drinks with the Girls. Conversations for women over 40 around connection, change, and the power of female friendship. Living well with stories to tell. I'm Karen, and this is Lisa.
We are moms and solopreneurs stepping into our own, diving into real conversations about things that matter to women in midlife.
We're here to spill the tea on everything that affects women in their 40s and beyond. Topics like loss and grief, changing relationships, launching kids, menopause, and reinventing ourselves in midlife. We are here to tackle it all.
Connect with us through a blend of our lived experiences, our friendship, the memory of our moms, plus a collection of real stories, honest conversations, and engaging interviews that will make women over 40 feel seen and remind them that they're not alone on this journey called life. Let's go.
Welcome back to Drinks with the Girls, the podcast where we keep it real with all things midlife, and you get a healthy dose of girl chat in the process. I am Karen, and we have a special guest today. But before we dive in, today I am actually double fisting with a beautiful, because I feel fancy, Petite Syrah from our local winery, Montserrat, but also Relief unsweetened iced tea. So I'm covering all the bases here. So Lisa, my beautiful co-host, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I'm trying to step it up because I've been so boring. And I was at Trader Joe's the other day. And I'm like, Karen always finds all these fun little drinks. So I bought a couple to try. So I am drinking Olipop. And it supports digestive health with prebiotics, botanicals, and plant fiber. I was a little concerned when I saw the plant fiber because I'm like, is it going to be floating around in the soda? Because that's kind of nasty. But it isn't, and it's good. It's very watermelon-y, if that's a word. So today we are talking about something we all have to deal with, whether we love it or not, and everybody has various votes on this scale, cooking.
I am so excited for this conversation because I have a love-hate relationship with cooking. So for a lot of us, cooking used to be something we did for our families, our kids, or obviously out of necessity, got to feed the people, right? But now in midlife, it can feel like a chore, a stressor, or something we just don't have the time or energy for.
So I'm super excited to introduce our guest today. This is one of my besties, Lisa Potter. And Lisa she's my friend, but she is a cooking expert who's going to help us rethink the way we approach food so it feels less like a burden and more like something that nourishes not our bodies, but our lives. And I will say that this whole topic came about because Lisa and I travel for work a lot together. She's always telling me about some crazy thing she made and sourdough this and this, that, and the other. And I remember turning to you and I was like, girl, I don't have time to do the kinds of things you're doing. You are next level crazy. And so since we were stranded somewhere on some plane in some airport, she laid it out for me about how she does this and how it's not as crazy as it sounds. So I'm super excited to have her on tonight to share with you all how she does it, because she's definitely changed the way I look at it. So Lisa, my love, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to do this with you. Oh, and by the way, I'm drinking a Classico Chianti.
Nice.
Yum.
Cheers. Food has always been a part of my family. I grew up in a pretty large family, like with a lot of first cousins, and we had huge holiday dinners, and celebrations throughout the years. My dad probably played the biggest role in my life, and then my grandma. And so he really was the inspiration for me cooking at a young age. That's something that we just did together. And so I've carried that through in my family in cooking with the kids when they were younger and now with my grandkids. So I've had 3-year-olds flipping pancakes in my kitchen.
At least they weren't flipping you something else. Just kidding. Okay. And don't you
So,
have a catering company too because you're an overachiever like all of us?
yes. So my oldest son is a chef, and he and I decided that we would love to get together and create our own company. So we have a catering company called Smoke Ridge Custom Catering on the side. And so we get to enjoy that time together, and it really is a bonding for us as well. So we just have a whole line of cooks in the family. And in fact, I have the knives of my great great grandfather, who was a line cook way back Depression time. And so my oldest son, who's the chef, he actually had those knives and my wooden spoon tattooed on his forearm because it's so special and important to
That's
him.
so cool.
Yeah.
That is really incredible. Like so much about what you just said. I mean, first of all, being in business with your child, like that, you need to come back on the podcast and we just need to talk about that. And then, yeah, like he has those tattoos. Oh my gosh, so precious. I wish I had that that love of food and culinary things, but that, I mean, I don't know. That's pretty incredible.
I'm thinking about the whole work with your child thing. I don't know.
Right.
Mine might suffer greatly. Or me, I don't know. So we'll have to dive into that. But I know that this topic is going to strike a chord for our listeners because a lot of women in midlife feel like they're either over it when it comes to cooking or they've just lost the joy in it. What do you think the biggest reason so many of us struggle with cooking is, particularly at this stage of life?
Well, I think that cooking can be really overwhelming, especially if you come home after working all day and it's just another thing you have to do. Even if you want to unplug, and that might be different for everyone, but it's busy schedules. Some of us have adult children, some of us still have kids at home. And it's just such a gamut. I have a seventh grade now. So I have a wide range that I need to still cook for. So I think the most important thing is keeping it simple. Just keep it simple. We don't want a difficult and long process because that's just too much. So I try to do something that's quick, usually 5 ingredients or less, and pull something together.
Maybe that's my problem. I got burned out because when my kids were little, I would make things like, homemade from scratch wonton soup.
Sweet Jesus, with like the dumplings and everything
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Are you freaking?
I was a stay-at-home mom, so I felt like, I'm feeding my kids, but also I'm using some creativity. I'm doing something, I don't know, I'm doing something a little extra, but maybe that's my problem. I went too hard, too fast, too early. Now I'm burnt out.
I've found that if you do want to pull that creativity card, I like to do that on a weekend when I have more time and I can just relax.
True that.
Like I have made pasta. Like I wanted to make homemade tortellonis, right? And so I thought I'm going to do that on the weekend. But it was a creative time for me. It's not something I'm going to come home and make that for the family after a long day. So also, I guess, scheduling that in.
Yeah, no way. Working and making a big meal. No. I when I was doing those crazy meals, I was a stay-home mom, so I had all day to think about it and plan it and prep it and
like thinking about you with like a mortar and pestle and like wheat berries and shit. Like
I have my mom's little mortar and pestle.
That's
actually.
So cool.
But I mean, and for me at this point, like my kids are gone. I'm an empty nester. It's just me and my fiance, but I'm just tired of making the damn decision when it comes to cooking, even though it's just me and Tony, it's just two of us. But I mean, full transparency, I kind of resent being the default meal person. He has gotten better. I mean, sometimes you just have to tell them what they need to do. And I told him at one point, probably like a couple months ago, I said, I don't like this. I don't like how at the end of the day, it's always on me to figure this out and to do it and have it prepared. And so now he's doing it. Now like tonight, since I'm recording, he cooks dinners on Monday nights when we record, and then usually one other time during the week, and he likes looking for recipes, and he's getting more confident. So anyway, all it took was a conversation. Who knew?
But he can't read your mind. What is going
no,
on?
he cannot, darn it. I thought he could, but no. But most women have spent years, decades planning meals, figuring out what to make, getting the ingredients, putting it all together, and some of us just don't want to think about it anymore. And like I said, I was a stay-home mom, and I really got a lot of joy out of it then. But this mom is tired now. There are some ways to simplify cooking so we don't have to overthink every meal, because I get caught in that trap, I think, sometimes, overthinking.
Yeah, again, it's the time capacity, the flexibility, what is at the moment. So some days you're going to be more tired than others. It's just nice to have a plan, something to fall back on. I love hearing that your fiance is stepping in and that conversation. That's so helpful. I can relate to that. My husband right now is at the store getting things for our dinner tonight, knowing that we're recording. But I will say there is a tool that I use that could help other people. And I have an app, and it's called Cozi, Cozi. I've had it for years. That is something that all of the family members have access to because it's a family account. So what I've done is I've put all of the recipes or the way that I make things into the recipes portion, and you can select it for the dinner on like a calendar. And so from that, you can also make it into a shopping list. So I can click, and I have my things in there. You can even add things from a website, just copy and paste the URL, and it will compile it for you into a list and a recipe. So that has helped because he has that list. He doesn't have to ask me as much. I already have it on there. He can look it up on his phone, and or maybe he stops at the store on the way home. And he knows already that's my list. So everyone has the list. If you stop at the store, you got to look at the Cozi list.
Look at the list. Yeah, I use one called Plan to Eat, and it's very similar, and I love it. I've got a referral link. I'll put that in the show notes as well. But it's the same kind of thing where it will import anything, and we can just like plan the recipes. There's like a queue, and what I like about it is it spits out a grocery list, so I can just throw it in there, right? But there are times when I'm literally Googling, I have shoe leather, stale potato chips, a carrot, and ground beef. Like, show me recipes. And I'm not ashamed to say that out loud because that is just the way life rolls sometimes.
My name is Karen Shatafian, and I am a shameless coffee addict and empowerment coach for women, and my love language is authenticity. My mission is helping women unapologetically design a life they're in love with. Because what the hell are we waiting for? My website, KarenShatafian.com, has all my coaching packages and free offers like my Midlife Reclamation Guide. In it, you'll find tools to help you decide how to create the most inspired and empowered version of yourself and your life. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram talking about ways women can show up for themselves after decades of showing up for everyone else. Join me as we throw off the shackles and live our best freaking lives. See the show notes for all the details. Cheers.
You guys, I feel like what you both just talked about right now is a hot freaking tip. Listeners, am I wrong? I mean, okay, and granted, I'm not the most like technologically advanced person, but this is new to me that there is an app out there, especially Cozi app. Like that, so everybody, all the people are in on the app. All the people can see what's going on. Because you know what I have? Guess what? I have a freaking email folder.
Oh no!
Full of emails.
No.
Ridiculous. I do have Pinterest though. I do love me my recipes on my Pinterest board.
Well, I don't know if Cozi does this, but Plan to Eat, like you could literally like cut and paste your email of like whatever it is, quesadillas, whatever, and then you just plop it in there and it imports it for you. Like it'll do a bulk import and do all that. And mine's similar to what Lisa has. Like my husband has it on his phone. So when I get my shit together and I have stuff planned, like he can kind of do the same thing. I know that there's ones out there that are like, you just like put in the contents of your freezer and all that, and they can like, suggest meals. That's just like next level. Like I don't know that that's ever going to be me in my life, but I do know that just having this has been like a freaking game changer for me. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we'll link it in the show notes. Mine does push out a grocery list as well. Once you select in the grocery list, it'll pop into there, and you can check off the things you already have. So yeah, that was a game changer for me. People don't have to ask me anymore, "What's for dinner?" You go, "It's
That's a
on
beautiful
what?
thing.
Cozy." So
That's the dreaded
yeah.
question for sure. And then another thing you've gotten me back into is sourdough. Like when I first started talking to you about this, I was like, this girl's crazy. Like there's no freaking way I have time to do sourdough. Like didn't we like give that all up after the pandemic, for the love of God? But it is so much healthier to eat sourdough anything, especially when it's homemade. I must say that the last few weeks I've epic failed on my sourdough because my husband had surgery and I had the flu. And so the sourdough has been in the fridge, and I finally just gave up on my discard and threw that out. But I know that soon it will be time to take that little baby out because Lisa's given me some amazing tips about different things, and I've really enjoyed it. I've made bread, crackers, sticky buns, cinnamon rolls, blueberry muffins, pretzels, and bagels so far. And Lisa knows this. I always tell everyone the only drama in my life I want is my sourdough starter, and that's it.
Yeah, I love how easy it really is. I don't even measure everything out with all the cups and measures and all of this. It's so forgiving. With the sourdough, I just stick my mixing bowl on the scale and I just start dumping in the right amount of grams and reset. And I measure out the water, for instance, hit the reset button, measure the flour, and so on, like 4, 5 ingredients tops, and it's just done. Mix it up. And I don't have to use the mixer. I don't have to use a bunch of equipment. It's one little space on my counter. Takes the challenging part out of it.
Yeah, I mean, when she was first telling me about that, and she's like, "Oh, and you need a kitchen scale," like I was like, "Oh, no, no, no." But I have to say, I think the kitchen scale is a very underrated kitchen tool. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be epic," but I love it because it makes. I mean, with baking, you have to be really precise, and I've never necessarily considered myself a baker because I'm the Italian, like just throw a little this, throw a little that. But with the baking stuff, you have to be more specific. But I have found adding that kitchen scale has definitely helped. I don't like to have more crap in my kitchen than I need, but I just have like a little one and it's been great. So, speaking of stress free, let's talk a little bit more about stress free
Can I
cooking.
interject something about sourdough before we move
You
on?
may,
Sorry.
please. So sorry that I asked you, Mead, that you didn't have anything to contribute when it came to sourdough.
No, it's okay. I'm going rogue. Um, so, for those of us like me who have never made sourdough, do you have somewhere online we can go, Lisa, to like walk us through it, or do you have a recommendation, or can we put something in the show notes that can help newbies like me who want to get started doing it?
Absolutely. We'll put that in the show notes for sure. It's a website that I use regularly, and she's always updating different recipes for both discard and making your own. But if you are lucky enough to know someone with a starter, by all means just ask them for some and use that, because that's going to be the quickest, most sure method for a
Yeah,
starter.
Lisa gave me, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. It's Scottish starter. And that shit is like incredible. I mean, it is sturdy for sure. And it's one of the best starters I've ever had. I have a friend who was gifted starters from around the world for Christmas. And she's like, "Oh, my German starter." And like, that's a little too like United Nations for me. Like that.
That's so cool, though.
But it
That's
was
so
super
neat.
cool. But I agree, like you can get them online, but it's a pain in the butt to like get them going and all that, and it's just gonna be too much. Just ask. I guarantee you somebody will have it. I love the idea too. I love the idea that I have like starter that Lisa gave me and I'm thinking about her when I bake. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, but we'll put some stuff in the show notes for that for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome.
I love that. My daughter-in-law gave me mine. So it's really fun. You just start sharing it to the family and your friends, and yeah, you do. You think about them when you cook with it.
So back to stress-free. If someone listening right now is just completely overcooking and they want to make it easier, which Karen is indicated loud and clear, and I get that. What are 3 simple changes they can make right now to remove some of this crazy stress?
First of all, you're going to want to know how much time you actually want to spend on making dinner. If it's going to be a quick 30-minute or even 15 or 20-minute dinner, know that first so you are finding the right quick way to make something. For instance, I try to have a protein, a side, and a salad. Boom. Keeping it simple. That's the second thing. Like 5 ingredients or less. And then having a well-stocked pantry is really important. So I can just walk in there and think, okay, I can make something with pasta. I've got some tomato sauce. I can make something with that. And I can go grab a protein out of my freezer. Boom. It's just trying to keep it simple, keep it easy, and know your capacity by the time you want to commit to making that meal.
So, Lisa, what is your go-to quick, healthy meal that might feel homemade, but they don't take forever?
So I love to use sheet pan dinners because it's one sheet pan. I line it with foil so there's not a bunch of dishes. You can grab a protein for one side, maybe a vegetable for another, and then I've got a salad probably in a bag in my fridge.
Love that.
That's
I
probably
love
sheet pan
the
dinner.
fastest.
Sheet pan dinners are the bomb. And I love them when you have like a bunch of veggies like in your fridge that are just kind of random and you don't know what to do with them. Throw it on there with like some chicken thighs or some pork chops or salmon or like whatever. There is nothing about a roasted vegetable with a little olive oil and salt that I don't love. Like it's pretty
Same.
hard to screw that up. And like
Yeah.
she said, the cleanup is so easy and it's boom, it's done. Like, and I think I'll have to throw this in the show notes, but I think I have like a blank canvas sheet pan dinner recipe rather somewhere. Cause I think the only real trick to it is just the protein you use has to be kind of uniform with the veggies, but I'll throw that in the show notes because boy, that is just such a rescue me from takeout kind of last minute meal for sure.
Absolutely. And you can really clean out the fridge, like you were saying, Lisa. Just clean out the fridge and stick stuff in there. And that's I'm gonna take this back to the well-stocked pantry portion because with that you can dress it up, right? So maybe you have a jar of artichoke hearts or some Kalamata olives, and maybe in your fridge you have a wedge of lemon, and you just kind of give it a quick spritz and add a few little things, just that added dress up to make it elevated a little bit more without having to do a lot of work.
Okay, quick pause. Have we talked about the Pod Squad lately?
Oh, the Pod Squad. You mean our email list /VIP lounge /digital wine club?
Exactly. So listeners, if you're not on it yet, you're basically making life harder for yourself when it comes to podcasts.
Like trying to scroll for show notes while speed walking on a treadmill. Wait, what was that link again? Oh, no. Grab the side rails.
Or pulling up that book we mentioned while you're in the Starbucks line and then realizing everybody else moved up 3 cars and now you're that woman.
We've all been there. That's why we made the Pod Squad. You'll get new episode alerts every week with direct links. Easy to listen, easy to share.
And show notes straight to your inbox. So when we drop a life-changing product, book, hot tip, or yummy new drink, you're not rummaging through your memory like a woman searching for her reading glasses when they're on top of her head.
It's organized, it's helpful, it's for you, babes.
So join the Pod Squad. The link is in the show notes. Just tap it.
Snacks, sarcasm, solidarity.
And obviously, fighting the patriarchy.
We write at dawn.
Okay, can we just talk for a second about the well-stocked pantry? Like, what are 10 things, or maybe that's too many, but 5 to 10 things that need to be in our well-stocked pantry?
It's a really good point.
I like to have definitely pasta and definitely rice. Those are 2 pretty critical elements that you can just grab and really have a nice side dish or in addition to the main. So from there, I like to have a couple of different soups, like our cream of celery or cream of chicken soup, some different tomato sauces that you might like, sometimes, roasted or just plain sauce or roasted tomato, something. And a couple cans of vegetables that your family likes, just in case. We prefer frozen, so it might be not the pantry, but it might be the freezer where you have some different frozen veg. The other thing I like to think about is some good spices. And so that might be just as simple as garlic powder, onion powder, some chili powder, maybe paprika, and from there you can elevate a lot of flavors. Some roasted red peppers, and I kind of went the Mediterranean style when I added the Kalamata olives and the artichoke hearts. But they really do add a lot of flavor, and it looks really nice when you're using those.
The other thing I really like to do that I think is kind of a hidden trick is Trader Joe's is the bomb, right? And they have really good canned goods. And there are so many times when I'll grab like a can of something for Trader Joe's, and I can make a quick and easy meal. Like I was there today and they have like eggplant with roasted garlic in a can, or they have like beans that are, you know what I mean? And so I like to have a few of those things in my cupboard because that often kind of starts a meal. I mean, like you can make an easy pasta or whatever.
Oh, I'm gonna add some bouillon or some type
Oh yeah.
of way to make a broth, because I usually have a beef, a chicken, and a veg, and that way you can just really flavor it up. That could be a broth, it could be just a little scoop of that, and that's a nice addition.
The other one you mentioned that I don't want to roll over because it's so helpful is an Instant Pot. I swear to God, that thing is magic in an appliance. It is. What I love about it is that it makes an impossibly long dinner manageable. And sometimes my Instant Pot is the only thing standing between me and takeout. And I'm sure you have some secrets, Lisa, but oh my God, I love that. Like that's what I need on my desert island is my Instant.
Absolutely. I use it all the time. Just yesterday, we visited my mom, and she wanted to make something in her, for dinner that was going to take forever, stroganoff. And I thought, well, if you have some meat in your freezer, and she's like, well, yeah, but it was like round steak or stew meat, something tough, right? So instead of having to make another trip to the store, I grabbed that. We had it already in chunks. Yeah, it was stew meat. And I was able to just throw that in the Instant Pot with some broth. And in 10 minutes, that meat was done. From there, I just made the sauce like you would normally. You just add some mushrooms and finish it with a little sour cream, and it was great. So we had dinner in about 20 minutes.
Love it. Okay, now for those of us that have sensitive eaters, I'll call them, which is another thing that Lisa and I have bonded about is our kiddos. You know, maybe you're cooking for a partner who doesn't like certain foods or doesn't have the same tastes. We have kids that are picky eaters and that have food issues and texture issues, which is always upsetting the apple cart. So what are some ideas about how we navigate that without making multiple meals? I am not a restaurant chef, I tell my kids.
That's a great question. I do have one at home still. That is my 7th grader. Tonight, my husband and I want to have some fish, and he does not like any seafood whatsoever. So what I did last week, when I made lasagna, I made some in a ramekin. So I know that I can just pull that out and warm that up for him, and he has dinner. So if you're making something big like that, just pull a little out. No one's going to notice. Stick it in a small ramekin, throw it in the freezer for when you're ready, and they can just microwave it.
That's a hot tip. Lisa, you are dropping some bombs here on this episode.
See what I mean?
I don't have kids at home, but man, oh man, if I did that, oh, I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we've even just I've made a meatloaf on the side. We had a big meatloaf, so I grabbed large meatball size or whatever and packed that thing in and cooked it in the oven so that all I had to do was, thaw that out if he needed a different meal. There's a lot of different things that we make that you can do that with.
So good. So back to your magic apps that I've just learned about here on this episode of Drinks with the Girls. The closest thing I have to that, I discovered this website called Taste Better from Scratch. And the author, Lauren Allen, she sends weekly email. Actually, I think it's daily because I think I had to scale back. But anyway, she sends a lot of emails to my inbox, which I'm not mad about. And she has an app or something. It's not an app, but it's something that I can put these in. But it has been a little clunky for me. So I haven't been able to, I guess, utilize it the way that I probably should have. But same, complete with grocery lists, ingredients. Pretty simple, things like that. Let's talk about the common frustration of the grocery shopping. And I'm embarrassed to say, I just discovered having groceries delivered. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm in the dark ages. I know.
Girl,
even during COVID, I never
girlfriend.
had any. I know.
Are you nuts?
Honestly, I used Tony and I during COVID when we would go grocery shopping, we used it as like an adventure. Like we'd mask up and we'd get all and he'd have one cart, I'd have one. One was full of food, one was full of alcohol. Sorry. I mean, I had adult children at home with me. I mean, it was like, okay, how are we going to get through COVID? Anyway,
it
sorry.
felt like an adventure. That's for damn sure. No, I was just going to say, I don't necessarily do the delivery, but I do the click shop. So we can just pull up, they put the groceries there, because that's the thing that I can't stand is the hours that you have to spend in the friggin' grocery store. And I just, oh my God. So even if you could just pull it up and they put the bags, I'm telling you, that has taken years off my life.
But is your grocery store close to you? Because mine is not. Like it's a haul. I waste 45 minutes just getting to and from the grocery store.
I mean, for sure. Like we have one that's like 15 minutes away, but when we lived out in the country, like
I feel like I've just discovered this thing that I know all y'all have already known about. I know it. I'm admitting it, but I'm so happy. I'm a happy girl. But so what are some tips to make grocery shopping faster, easier, or more enjoyable?
Well, I do love the click list, and I missed out on this deal, but a grocery store near me had a half price subscription. So it was only $49 for the whole year to get your groceries delivered to your house unlimited times, as long as you had it over a $30 purchase. And I wanted it really bad, and I happened to be in an area far away with Lisa on an airplane.
I remember, I was like, you're saying this, and I'm like, I feel like I remember which airport we were stranded in when you made the horrible realization that you weren't going to be able to take advantage of it.
And I missed out on it, but normally it's $100 though. But if you think about that, that's huge value of having $100. I
Totally
know I
worth
spend
it.
$100 on gas for sure.
Yes.
And then your amount of time that you're shopping. So I would definitely take advantage of that. But there's other things. So I take my youngest son to the store when I do have to shop, and I said, okay, we're power shopping. You have half the list. I have half the list. Who can get it done faster?
Oh,
and
I
so
love it.
we have a quick little race.
Cute.
Meet at the checkout.
So good.
It helps.
Yeah. So I know
Okay.
you've talked before about a mindset shift is needed. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So if it's a really busy or stressful time of the year, like holiday time or anything like that, I have had to stop and take a couple breaths. You know, when the parking lot is packed full and you're just looking at all the cars thinking, okay, this is going to be a journey. So just take a couple minutes, just take a few breaths and relax, and kind of just change your mindset and thinking about, all right, I need to put my empathy hat on. Maybe I'll buy myself a coffee just to get in that more relaxed frame of mind, and use my app that I know I already have. It's not a big deal. I can do this. So I just can get my calmness on, my empathy for others, because some of the people in the store are going to be rushing around. Maybe they had a rough day. I have to put that empathy hat very, very square on and shop through the store.
Don't shop mad.
No, do not shop mad. Oh, the other thing that I look at is how many carts are gone. Do you ever do that?
No, but that's
Dang.
genius.
I look at the carts and I think, oh boy, there's 5 carts left. It's gonna be a while.
Let me do a quick meditation in my car before I go in.
It's a 5 cart kind of a day. I think I need a coffee.
That's brilliant. They started putting Starbucks in. I mean, I'm not a fan of Starbucks these days, but started putting Starbucks in grocery stores because I think, like you said, Lisa, grab a coffee and then do your shopping. It's like you giving yourself a little treat. It definitely makes it more enjoyable. It's like a little splurge. Yeah, I think that's a good tip.
Hey there, I'm Lisa Corachella McDowell, your midlife Pacific Northwest princess, here to guide you in the art of next leveling your life. I'm passionate about women's health and wellness in midlife, especially for moms parenting kids with unique needs like I do. I truly believe we can learn, grow, advocate, and care for the planet while taking care of ourselves and our families, and I'd love to help you do the same. Plus, I'm beyond excited to announce the launch of my new membership, the Empowered Parent Collective, this March. It's a space for parents to confidently advocate for their kids, build inclusive communities, educate themselves, and find balance and support along the way. To find out more about the Empowered Parent Collective, my classes, wellness offerings, parenting tips, advocacy resources, and exclusive Drinks with the Girls goodies, head to nextlevellifewithlisa.com. Let's survive and thrive in the messy middle together. Cheers.
One of the things that Lisa has helped me with as well, and I've talked a little bit about this on the podcast, and I know we've got a plan to do a sustainable eating episode at some point, but my family and I personally subscribe to several CSAs. We've really enjoyed having local and localish organic, wild-caught, grass-fed, and sustainably sourced food. I do a little garden in the summer. Lisa, I know you do some things on your little farmlet that wouldn't exactly fly in suburban USA, but what are some tips and tricks for our listeners to eat healthier and balance it with a little fun?
I definitely agree with you with the CSAs. I'm sure a lot of people have those available to them. I would look that up for sure. And then there's always a farmer's market, especially during the summertime. We have a weekly one that we can go, and I like to buy the produce that I can't grow or is more unusual, and definitely supporting the local business. I have a farm down the road from me, and I'm able to order lamb or beef from them any time online, and they deliver it to my door on Tuesdays. So that's a really nice, well, blessing, really. I don't have to go out and shop and find something, but it's local and it's good for you. I came across a website the other week. It's called realmilk.com, and we can put that in the notes as well. But if you put your zip code in, they can tell you where to find raw milk. It's either cow or goat. Yeah, I love that. You can make so many things from the milk. I've made my own ricotta. Again, that'd be one of the creative days, not after work.
Not on a Tuesday at 6 p.m.
No. And then try a kitchen garden. I mean, it might be even in your kitchen window where you just grab a little rosemary start and maybe a little basil start and maybe parsley. Put those 3 pots in your window in your kitchen and just start clipping off of that. Just fun little things like that can really benefit a lot. Those are flavor bombs for sure.
Also, I'm realizing we're throwing around these terms and we probably shouldn't assume that everybody knows what they mean. So a CSA is community supported agriculture. And basically it's exactly what Lisa's talking about. It can be like a local farm that raises, meat and they deliver it. It can be a seasonal thing. I have one where they give me a selection of seasonal fruits and vegetables and they trade with other local CSAs to make sure that it's really varied. So that's definitely a really good way of doing it. And the other thing I like about having a CSA weekly is that it gets me to try things that I may not try. It's there and I know I need to use it up. So that's what that means. The other one I'm going to recommend if you're in the Northwest, but there's a lot of different companies that do this. It's called Oregon Valley Farms, and they're local-ish to the area. Butcher Box is another one. They're national, but they are a certified B Corp, so they put some money back in the planet, which is the only way they're able to do that. So I'll put some of those resources in the show notes, but you should be able to just Google local CSA to me, and it'll come up with a lot of great stuff.
Lisa, that reminded me of another resource called Imperfect Foods. And what they do is they take vegetables and fruits, and they even have some milk and other items there. You'll have to check it out on the website. We can put that in our show notes. But that's a way to really also give back because they take those items. Maybe they're not perfect. Maybe they were cut on an angle. maybe, just the shelf life is not the perfect, most round apple. So you can get those for a reduced price and they are delivered to your home. So I would look them up to see if they are a good service in your area.
Yeah, I think in some places in the country it's called Misfit Foods. I think it might be the same company. But I'll put that in the show notes for sure.
That's some good information. Now, let's talk about cooking for one or two people. Some of us are in the empty nest, or some of us are just cooking for ourselves. What are some ways to make cooking feel worth it when you're not feeding a bunch of people? Because I'm happy to eat cheese crackers and a glass of Merlot. So, Lisa
Word.
Potter, give us some hot tips.
Word.
Well, I found, and I have to relate to this because my mom, she is single and she needs to have me come over to help her cook food because it's more enjoyable when you're not alone. So my first tip is cook with someone else. That's more fun. Visit, open a bottle of wine, and just relax and enjoy each other while you're cooking. Another thing that I would consider is when you do make those large pans, like for lasagna or something big like that, it's okay. It's okay to make a large meal, but I cut it into portions or even make them into ramekins. Keep that as a freezer meal. Maybe you want one next month. That's fine. But you don't have to have the whole pan. Just consider I'm going to make a few meals that are larger and know that I have that for later in my freezer. Something else that has come across throughout my seasons in my life is a cooking co-op. What we did was we got together and we had a few families. So let's say you have 5 families in the co-op, and each family makes one meal. So let's say my meal was chili. So I would make chili for 5 families, and I put that in my freezer. On co-op day, I would bring those 5-gallon zips frozen, and we'd all trade. And I'd go home with 5 different meals because they all cooked a different meal. So we all traded. So we now have, instead of 5-gallon zips of chili, I have one and I have 4 other meals. So that's kind of fun to trade.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like a way that you could do that because I'm like imagining just like you and Tony having a party and just like cooking stuff, but then like I don't know if you'd ever get to the cooking part because I'm picturing like the charcuterie board and the wine pops and everybody's like, why are we here? And what do we do? Like, I know that's what I would do, But actually, that's another one that we do sometimes. It's an easy one. Sometimes I'm like, screw it. I don't feel like cooking. I don't want to order takeout. And we do like a charcuterie board for dinner. Love that. And open a bottle of wine like on a Saturday or whatever. And the kids love it because they can pick little things out. And that's one of my favorite go-tos when I just don't, because frankly, like Karen, I could live on charcuterie, chocolate, and wine and probably some good French bread and be perfectly happy eating that like for the rest of my life.
We would do that during the pandemic. Again, those 2 big carts we got, we would have charcuterie, like we'd lay it out about 4 p.m. and then, you kind of start there and then that's it. That's your meal. And it was good. And I didn't have to cook.
I love
and
that.
Minimal dishes.
Yeah, totally. I love that too. And Lisa and I have also enjoyed mezzi platters.
Oh, yes, we have.
Those are the best.
A little too many.
Is Armenian. I am very well versed in the meze platters. Oh yeah,
so good. And again, another plug for Trader Joe's. Like, I mean, it's just so great, and they're reasonable, and you can go in there and just grab a bunch of stuff. And who doesn't love something on a slab of wood? Just saying. So before we wrap up, do you have any favorite kitchen tools or gadgets that make cooking easier and more fun? I know we've talked about the scale and the Instant Pot, and those are definitely some go-tos for me.
Absolutely. Definitely have to have those. But I'm going to keep it simple again. I love a good sharp knife. If you're going to invest in anything in the kitchen, make sure it's a high quality, good sharp knife that you can sharpen or take it to a sharpener. And I know on Wednesdays at Whole Foods, there's a sharpening van out in front, and I know that I can drop it off, go shop really quick, get my knife sharpened, and then on my way out, I grab my knife. So something that you can do that with to keep very sharp. The other thing is the microplane. Love my microplane. I could not live without it. Instead of, chopping or like mincing all the garlic or dirtying another tool, like the whole Cuisinart to chop up some garlic, something like that that's small. I love to grab my microplane and I can just grate that garlic right into the bowl or pan. You just rub it right on there. It just makes it a beautiful mince. Same with ginger, another flavor pop. You just rub that on there. A nutmeg, right? When you're making maybe a white sauce with pasta, you want to add just that little bit. So that's my other favorite. And the lastly is my wooden spoon / spatula. So it's kind of got a spoon, but one of the edge is a corner on it, so I can get in the corner of the pan, and the other side's more rounded. So I love that. I use it all the time. That's
you
my
have
go-to.
to send me a link to one of those. That sounds amazing.
Okay, yeah. And it doesn't scratch any pans because it's not metal, it's a nice wooden spoon. It's not going to mar up any, your Dutch oven with the enamel inside or anything like that. And it still works good. Those are my favorites.
Lisa, this has been so helpful. I know I'm walking away from this episode with a lot of new tips that I wasn't even aware of. And, at 56, that's saying something. So thank you. You have given us so many great ideas for making cooking easier and way less stressful.
Yeah, I'm going to put a bunch of stuff in the show notes, but tell our listeners where they can find you and learn more about what you do other than getting stranded in airports with me.
Well, we have our catering company is Smoke Ridge Custom Catering, and we have a website available, smokeridgecc.com, and that will be in the notes. And we also have an Instagram page, so feel free to visit us anytime. So my son and I are happy to cook for a small family. We've done dinner parties, 6 to 8 people. We've done holiday parties or business parties, as well as barbecues in the summer and weddings. So we really have a large customer base with a very diverse menus and needs. So we're ready to meet you where you're at.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And listeners, thank you for coming along on another ride with Drinks with the Girls. And if you liked this episode, if you're like me and you learned some new things, share it with a girlfriend, because there's a sister out there who needs to hear some of the things that we talked about today. And for a fun idea, why don't you take a picture of you listening to this podcast and post it on your socials?
Hello.
Let's get the word out that Drinks with the Girls has some hot stuff happening over here.
And
thank you so much for having me today. I have had so much fun on Drinks with the Girls.
The other thing we would love for you guys to do is leave us a 5-star review. We'd love to hear what you think. And also, just hot tip, we got a fantastic review the other day, and I'm pretty sure this person meant to leave us 5 stars but accidentally clicked 1 star. And unfortunately, the algorithm looks at the stars, not the words. But we obviously want you to be honest. But if you are enjoying what you're hearing, take a minute to leave that 5-star review for us, because it really does help our visibility, and the algorithm is hungry for that. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And Lisa, thank you.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, so much for being with us. And listeners, don't forget to share with a girlfriend. We will see you back here next week on Drinks with the Girls. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.